Officially, we are starting right now, episode number 502.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo! 502, two guests. It's all
Yes.
fitting together. No Laugh Track podcast here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm Justin Severson, who gets to host this each and every week, including a second time with the Sklar brothers. Been doing this podcast since 2011.
Wow.
And finally, a second time with Randy and Jason.
We come back.
We return.
We're so happy.
Your Minnesota Twins have returned.
The real Twins of Minnesota are back, so we are happy to be back.
First place Minnesota Twins.
First place.
Are you
Minnesota
guys two
Twins.
in first place?
We're still in first place. We have a very weak division, though, and we are in first place.
Of all twins, we're in first place.
Congratulations.
But it is like the American League Central. It is way lower than the other. Yeah.
Terrible.
As I was telling you, I might as well repeat it. I was just telling you right before we started, Minnesota Twins, Byron Buxton.
Yeah.
He does of course, probably, arguably the Twins' best player, all-star.
Great prospect.
Gold Glover when he
Yeah.
plays the field.
Sure.
What he's not known for necessarily is speaking.
He's not a
Pronunciation and diction.
He's not a spokesman.
Yeah, he's not a spokesman. Spokesperson, not a spokesman.
Right.
He does a commercial for some Sheboygan sausages locally.
I don't
here.
like that's too complicated
And
already.
he has trouble pronouncing both words.
Sheboygan and
How does he
sausages.
pronounce it?
It's Sheboygan sausages.
Sausages.
Yes.
You put an extra H in there.
There's an extra. I didn't even know there was an H in
It's a
sausage.
DH.
Okay.
Another fun fact about Byron Buxton. He has a daughter. Guess what he named his daughter?
Buxy.
You wouldn't actually.
Is that
You're not far off. Brixton Buxton.
Brixton Buxton.
Oh my God, that sounds like
That sounds like a place you go to buy like bespoke clothing.
I went to
Brixton Buxton and they made me a suit.
They made me a suit with shorts, just like Angus Young.
Yeah.
I asked for a suit that has
and it's
shorts.
all corduroy, right? Or
Well,
is it
what a
velvet?
bad choice that guy made at the very beginning. That's like, I'm gonna wear a schoolboy's outfit, like when he's now.
Because I'm 22 and it's
80.
funny.
He had no foresight. Like clearly, he didn't think AC/DC was gonna go past him when he was like 40. Let alone and now he's probably like in his 70s and he has to put on a schoolboy uniform. Like you don't look like a schoolboy anymore.
No one wants to see 79-year-old knees.
No, God, no.
Nobody.
No.
Especially ones that kick all it. Like, come on, dude. That's like in a movie scene, like when you literally are eating or at a diner or something and you take a huge bite, always spit it out. Don't swallow it on camera because that means you have to do it over and over and over again.
Sure.
Jay and I did a Burger King commercial one time and they gave us like, what were they? Nuggets. There were nuggets. And we were eating the nuggets. And I remember eating them. And then for 3 weeks afterwards, I couldn't get a hard on.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is happening?
These are like the opposite of Viagra.
Oh my God. It's like anytime you're having too much sex, just get a 20-piece.
Let me get a 20-piece of the ED McNuggets.
Yeah.
Can I do that?
Yeah.
And I think that was a special where it was about 25 for a nickel, right?
Yes.
Is that correct?
They paid you to take them.
Yeah.
We can't get rid of them.
I put my wallet. They're like, nope. We will.
no,
We're going to pay you and.
I was just thinking along the lines of like Angus wearing the schoolboy outfit. How
Yeah.
about like a band like New Kids on the Block?
New Kids on the Block.
Boys to Men.
Boys to
Didn't
Men.
think it was. I mean, no one considered it a career 40 years
So
later.
my favorite part about Boys to Men is in their big song, the Motown Phillies song. Okay, so in the big song, like there's a moment where he's like, and I said, yeah, he's like, Michael Bivins like, I said, all right, you guys ready? Let's go. And then they were like, we're ready, let's go. And then they're like, do dim dim da da, do dim dim da da, da ya ya ya. I would be like, okay, guys, stop with the vocal exercises. I said, sing a song, you idiots.
Are we ready to go? You're doing like the thing
All
you
right,
do
we're ready
before
to go.
you're ready to go.
The
The other thing about Philly is, we've said this over and over again. Obviously there's an accent here in Minnesota.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's a
Yeah,
Minneapolis.
yeah.
We
It's
put it
really
in the
quiet.
high
No,
dish.
there isn't.
You just
No.
try. You try.
All that Canadian
Minneapolis-
smoke is
all
coming
it's-
down.
all the
over.
it's
I
so
heard it's not
hazy
even
up here.
I won't even drive to Edina.
I won't even drive to St. Louis.
Here's what's
Park.
crazy. I heard it's not even from fires up
What-
in Canada.
what's the Canadian
It's the
smoke?
bare naked ladies frying bacon on the border.
Bare bacon ladies.
Yeah, they're just trying to get under our skin.
yeah.
All right, so obviously there's that. In Philly, there is a very thick Philadelphia accent. The most famous movie to come out of Philly is Rocky. The fact that they give Rocky a Brooklyn accent, like a New York, that's not a Philly accent. They should redub the movie This is our thing, and everything should be with a thick
Philly. Because
Philly, you got to swallow your L's. Go down to the Wawa on Fifth and Locust and grab me a water ice.
grab a Coke Zero out of the fridge.
How much of a better movie is it if Rocky's like, "Hey, yo, Adrian, get out of that coma.
Wake up. Hey, yo, Apollo Creed, don't throw in the towel.
Throw in a towel."
Forgive my towel.
I think that's such a better movie.
Way better and more accurate. I mean, the whole thing is, Phil, there's a statue of him in front of the art museum of Rocky, a fictitious character in Philly on the steps. He's
And
not
she'd
even
just be like, "Go home. Don't go to an art
Go
museum. You
home.
don't want to go to an art museum.
Go back to Cherry Hill.
Go get yourself some water ice." That to me is a better movie.
I'm trying to think who's the most famous like export from
Minneapolis.
Philadelphia that has that accent. Who?
I mean,
So we were
I was
watching
watching live from Daryl's house, which is the Daryl
Daryl Hall
Hall.
and John
Hell
did
yeah.
a fantastic where he Daryl Hall from Hall and Oates. From Hall and Oates. And it's like you never hear him speak. You only hear him sing. And he's got this kind of wonderful, silky, smooth Motown style voice for all the songs. I mean, we can get into Sarah Smile. That's the weirdest beginning.
weirdest opening line ever.
Baby
hair with a woman's eyes.
Oh.
What kind of freak are you?
Baby hair.
Baby hair. So wispy, thin,
patchy, alopecia with a giant
thin
cowlick in the back.
It was originally going to be a Johnson & Johnson commercial, actually.
Does your child have woman's eyes? We can fix that.
We can give her
Johnson &
that
Johnson.
soft baby hair with a woman's eyes. So he's got such a smooth voice, but then on the show, it's really the first time you ever hear him.
It's on the show. They bring on other artists.
Yeah.
They do a Hall & Oates. They do one of their songs. Then that other artist does like
It's
a Hall &
a
Oates
great
song.
show.
Great
And
idea.
Again, I can't tell you enough how cool Daryl Hall is until he talks. And he had the most Philly accent. I remember CeeLo Green was on the show. And he literally
CeeLo
was
is a great Philly
CeeLo's
name.
a great because Philadelphia, you swallow the
and
L's.
your O's go
A's
like
go like
this.
this. So he was literally like, "Hey, CeeLo, you want to go grab me a Coke Zero out of the fridge?" We were like, "Oh my God, Daryl Hall.
Who do you sing with?
What
I
is
said John Oates.
John Oates?
I mean, it's
Huge fan of
crazy.
Oates."
So that's like the biggest like Philly guy who's really captured the
Sure.
Philly accent.
I
on the
just,
one.
to me, it's there's a regionality to like stand up, and I know you know this, that like you hit these towns and you hit these markets and you kind of go in and we love to kind of figure out. We did a whole thing on Audible that was Finding the Funny, where
Yes.
we
It
were
was,
Sklars and Stripes.
Yes.
Where we would go in and give ourselves like a goal to try and write 10 minutes of comedy over the weekend, which is like go see the things that are the most important to this town, figure out what's going on, try and write material about
Eat
the
the
town.
cuisine, talk to the people, figure out what is special in this moment and what is sort of the overall idiosyncrasy, like gene pool of this town. And
Yeah.
can we capture it? Can we make fun of people locally from the outside and have them be on board with us?
And that's usually the first part of our set before we eat, like as we ease our way into an hour. It's fun to kind of be like, we're here. You know, like Minneapolis is just like this.
Nothing's happened here in the last 3 years.
I know. nothing at all.
Nothing. You guys know, you guys are starting to trust the police again, which
That's
is great.
good. That's
No, but I mean, Minneapolis is just like this kind of town that like it's cold all the way until May. There are like some parking lots that still have like the snow drifts in like the corner,
Like right now.
That's all black. It's like what is in the snow? Like you literally like it melts and you find like toys from kids and like missing children
I found my wife's garage door opener.
In
a
the snow.
in a snow thing.
Yes.
Right.
It was in there 2 months.
There you go.
I bought a new one, and then she's like, "We're gonna find it." I found it.
You found it.
When
It
the snow
melted
melted.
out. It melted
It melted
as
out.
soon as like that weird snow thing melted. It's just to me that's really funny that you guys have to deal with that stuff.
the Johnson triplets. They're in the snowbank.
They were in the snowbank. Yeah, at Target.
Yeah.
My youngest?
Yes,
oh my
my
God.
youngest.
We hadn't seen him. I knew
I
it
didn't
was.
know. I thought we lost him
I
at
sent him out
Target.
to play.
But yeah, it's that understanding what each place has to offer and trying to dig into it. And it's also a really fun writing exercise that we take on every time we come to a city, and it keeps you on your toes.
Right.
And you build a little mini set within the beginning of your set, and it
That's
feels
cool.
good.
I love it. How much stand-up are you guys doing in 2023?
So 2023, we've done some enough, like right at the beginning of the year, went to San Diego and Phoenix and Denver and some really great cities back here in Minneapolis. So happy to be back here. And then over the summer, we're going to do a lot of stuff in LA. We're actually right now writing, which is kind of cool. I'm excited. And we did this once before years ago, but we are sort of taking a big chunk of our stand-up hour that we're doing right now, and then we wrote kind of the spine of a longer story throughout it to try and convert that sort of the parenting stuff that we have, which is a lot of our current stand-up, into like a two-man show, almost like a Birbiglia style, Neil Brennan blocks type, because those shows really meant a lot to us, and seeing those guys figure out a way to incorporate, we perform with Neil all the time in LA, and to see him take the stand-up we've seen at the Comedy Store and weave it really beautifully into a show about mental health and about how he's dealing with his own stuff, we're like, that's really cool, that's really interesting, and a different way to, he's always done really cool, different, interesting things.
But we as parents, that's a big part of our lives, and we are able to, I think, make our material relatable to people who don't have kids or who are considering having kids. But really the truth is, if you are a parent or you've ever had a parent,
This show is for you.
right? So
That's pretty much everybody.
The concept is
Including Brixton Buxton's dad.
sausages. He put his sausage in his wife. All right. So no, the point is that I think we're at this moment in our history.
He just says to his wife, "Honey, do you want to play hide the
the sausages.
Dear, I can't take you seriously when you say it like that.
No, I'm saying sausages.
Where are they from?
Sheboygan. All right. So the concept in our mind,
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin style sausage.
I'm sorry.
I know.
I love it. All right. So, but I think we're at this moment in our lives. I think the pandemic flipped the world upside down a lot.
Yeah.
And all of us started questioning all the things we took for granted. Why do we have to go into the office? Why do we have to go into
Why do I have to wear pants?
Yeah, why don't we wear pants to anything, right? So we started to question all those things. And I think one of the other things that has sort of been on the table for a while is people as they, grow up and become adults are like, why do
Certainly.
I have to have kids?
You ask any young person now, do you want to have kids? They're like, no. It's
no.
expensive. It's
Bring them into this world. The world's going to be over in like 20 years. Do I want to end that? So like all these people start giving you reasons, and there are a lot of great reasons to not have kids.
You almost can't argue with it, except that we are parents and we have kids, and as difficult as it is, and you see our material and see our set, and we're like, it's hard, and we make fun of how difficult it really is. That's our goal with this show in a fun way. Is
can we take an hour and a half, and this is the longer show, but you'll see pieces of that in our set here, is can we tell you, we think if you're on the fence about having kids and you think maybe I might be the kind of person who can have a kid, then we would say to you, then you are the right person to have a kid. And we're going to prove to you why it's important to have kids by spending an hour and a half telling you
how shitty it is to
have kids.
How difficult, how emotionally difficult,
how it'll bankrupt you financially. It will destroy your self-esteem. It will kill you as a person. It will make you think you're doing everything wrong, and at the same time, you still come out of it a better person.
Because there are those awesome moments, and they are amazing, that you're just like, God, these are better moments than I've ever had doing anything in our lives.
And so that world that we are exploring personally and emotionally is a really fun space. And what we've noticed is, and the reason why we were inspired to even do it is, since we've been doing some of that material in the show, fans and people have been coming out after us and saying that bit about this.
Perfect.
I have two teenage daughters. I
Thank
just
you.
had a baby, and everything you're saying about this is like all of a sudden, like we know what feels. We've been doing shows for 30 years. We've been doing stand up for a long time, so we know when people come out after shows and like, that was great, or I love this, or oh my God, you guys, that's a general. They had a good time at the show. When people start citing specific things and it starts happening over and over again, you're like, oh, okay, this is connecting.
It resonates,
with people.
yeah.
And
cool.
I'm someone that does have children, so when you start bringing that stuff up, I mean, it obviously hits me. With teenagers, I have 3 daughters.
Wow,
Yeah,
dude.
wow.
Currently 16, about to be 17, 15, and 3 years old.
Wow.
3.
Dude, you're like in it on every level and in every stage of it.
You're like a waiter who's at a restaurant and they seated your whole section at once, and then as you're in the weeds with all those people,
Can you handle the patio?
Can you handle the patio? And they have a baby.
And they have a baby.
And everyone else called in sick.
And a dog. And I need you to expedite the food too. And
Pretty
can
much.
you cook it? And can you do the dishes?
And they all have gluten allergies. Go. That's your life, and it is so amazing. I'm sure people are like, "What are you doing, man? Why would you do that?" And you're like,
Oh yeah, once or twice.
guys, the condom breaks sometimes. But no, you're like, hey, I made this choice, and this is part of our lives, and it is insane, and it doesn't make sense, and it is
But
crazy.
it will be amazing because when the 2 leave, you will have this little one who'll be like 7.
Trust me, I know.
And it's gonna be. I'm literally facing my 17-year-old go. She's 18, like next week, going to college, and I'm like, this huge hole is gonna be in our. And then the other one's gonna go in 2 years after that. So fascinating, interesting.
Everybody's gonna be like hanging out at my house, parenting my kids.
Yeah.
I miss it.
You should.
Can I discipline one of them for 5 minutes? Yes.
Please do your homework. What is he still doing here?
Can you guys relate to this when I give my oldest a ride to school every morning? And this morning, 7:01, I get a text from her saying, just woke up. She's downstairs. I'm upstairs in the bathroom. I get a text from her. Just woke up.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be leaving at like 7:02.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then I come downstairs. I'm like, what do you mean? I just woke up.
Oh my God.
I'm like, let's go.
Let's go.
I gotta.
No.
So I ended up
I
laying
need-
down on the couch. Like, okay, this is going to take 20 minutes probably for her to get
You
ready.
fall asleep.
I fell asleep.
Of course you did.
Because you're
Of
a
course you
comic.
did. Of course you did.
Woke up at 8:10. She's still getting ready. I'm like, what are we doing? Where are you?
She's like walking around with one pair of pants. You're like, those are pajama bottoms. Let's
What
go.
are you doing? No, my son will. This is a great thing. He'll text me from his room, even though I'm on the other side of the wall. Text me and be like, "Can you bring me a LaCroix?" And I'm like, "What?" First of all, that is the whitest thing anyone's ever texted in their life ever. Can you bring me a LaCroix?
Could you put a lemon slice in it too?
Yeah.
I was like, I'll tell you what, I'll bring you a LaCroix when you tell me where your legs went, because you can't walk into the kitchen and get a LaCroix.
No.
So then I'll make him do it. But he still does it from time to time. So one time, Ray and I are up at the Comedy Store about to go on stage, and they're like reading,
Introducing
us. Credits. The comic right before us is introducing us. I get a
Text.
FaceTime.
Oh, even better.
FaceTime from
Okay.
my son. Hello. Because I'm thinking something's horrible. He's like, Dad, can you bring me a LaCroix from the kitchen? I'm like, I'm at the Comedy Store.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Sklar
Sklar
brothers.
brothers. I'm like, I gotta go on stage. Get your own goddamn LaCroix.
He's like, and then he looked at him for a second. He was like, so no?
Yeah. Yeah, he said so no.
So no.
So no?
So no. So no.
We sort of have, I now buy my daughter her own case of water.
Yeah.
So I don't get asked to. Where's the?
Mini fridge.
Can you give me?
Where's
your
the-
case?
Nope, it's in her room. When that's gone, when it's almost gone, let me know. I'll get you more. But
Where's
otherwise,
it's like, it's so funny. Are the 2 trigger words for you where you're like, I can't
I
answer
literally
this.
can't tell you this anymore.
It's like when I say to my kids, hey, can you just, that's the worst 3 words I can say to my kids. Can you just, I'm trying to couch it in the least impactful way ever. Can you just, I don't know, take a shower for once in like a week? Can you just, no, they're
Can
like,
you
they
just take
shut
the
down
clothes
emotionally.
that are on the floor and bring them to the
Just clean
downstairs.
up anyway, that's,
we got one more thing I want to bring up about the after school. Sometimes when I have to pick her up, she'll be sending me a text while I'm on the way, changing the pickup location.
Yes.
And I get there, I'm like, honey, I'm not looking at my phone while I'm driving over here. I look at it maybe once I'm in the line, ready here to get you. It's too late by then. Now I'm trapped in here.
She's
I
like-
can't get back across the street. I go, why don't you call me, or can I just call you? No. Don't you dare
Don't
call
you dare.
me.
How
Don't
dare
you
you.
dare
How
call me.
dare you
How
call
dare
me?
you.
Can you just pick me up in St. Paul? How did
Exactly.
you get to St.
St.
Paul?
Paul.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I took a lift. Well, you could have gotten home.
Take a lift home.
So for some reason, calling are they going to know that you're on the phone with a parent?
Yes.
Heaven forbid.
I mean,
They want to assume to the world that they were raised by wolves.
or just like it materialized out of nothing.
Yeah, I live alone.
It is, yeah. I've got an apartment in downtown.
It's fun. It's a fun part of our act, and I think what we consider to be the sort of the craftsmanship of it is how can we take this material that's specific to us and all parents and make it applicable and understandable to everyone, people who even don't want to have kids. And that's also the point of that other show is like, we know there are people out there who are like, hey, I have mental health issues and I don't think I want to be a parent. We're not trying to convince those people to have kids.
Sure.
We've tried to have kids and we physically cannot because of X, Y, and Z. We're not talking to those people and trying to convince them to have kids. What we're saying is that there is something funny about this experience and you guys experienced it. Everyone did as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
So you're on board through that portal, and then anyone who is a parent are thinking about it.
I mean, look, because we as people are making like mistakes. We continue to make mistakes. That to me, and
that's what comedy comes out of, right? Comedy comes out of this tragic, horrible goof or mistake or flaw that you find in yourself that is relatable to other people. And parenting just offers you a million opportunities every day to make those mistakes.
So much.
Yeah.
Good or bad, it absolutely does.
Absolutely.
I want to bring up something that that got me through the first part of the pandemic, and that was your daily podcast.
Oh, thank you.
The virus edition of Scarborough Country.
Oh my God.
I was a daily listener for
Awesome,
a long
man.
time.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That was
The
sort of
Pandy Pods.
The Pandy
Two
Pods.
choose one
couch,
There we
right?
go.
Which was that. I mean, it was an opportunity because we're like, I guess we're in the same pod. We kind of have to be in this moment where people just didn't want to be around anybody. And we would sit like distance 6 feet from each other on the couch and we'd have like microphones connected to a thing. And we would just say, this is what's going on. Like, what can we find it was a tremendous exercise. What can we find that's funny about this world right now? And like it's so funny. We're like, we didn't like want to become comedians to then be like shitty engineers, which is what we wound up being.
Oh my God, there were so many days where we would record a full podcast or think we recorded a full podcast.
And it wasn't.
We hadn't turned on the
record.
Or
Brandon can relate in the back room there.
Right? Brandon.
Or the Zoom ran out of batteries.
Sure.
Like the battery power ran out somewhere in the middle and we don't know where because we can't be like, can you go back to where we ended off? No, there's no going back to where we ended off. So literally, like we would be in these moments where we were so frustrated by the world, frustrated by the fact that we couldn't go out and do comedy.
Yeah.
And we're like, let's find an outlet. And also, we sat there on the couch many times, finished recording, send it into the people who would post it, and we were like, I don't know if anyone's even going to listen to this. I have no idea.
No idea. No
Yeah.
clue.
And you're
But the
telling
fact
us
that
you did, it makes us happy.
I absolutely did.
Thanks,
absolutely
man.
Did. Yeah,
Thank
no,
you.
that
It's
was
great.
great. And you're still doing Scarborough Country, obviously, just different version of that now, right?
Yeah, View from the Cheap Seats,
Yeah.
which is our look at the week in sports, or as we like to call it, the WEAK in sports. Like whatever is happening in the world that is, and it's basically just
John Morant flashes a gun in an Instagram live video, which basically happens every week.
yeah, it's a new thing.
I thought he was more of a slasher to the hoop. It turns out he's a shooter.
He's a shooter. He's a shooter, gang.
But yeah, it's that moment where you say, okay, 5 weird Russell Westbrook walked into somebody's like suite at the stadium and started like harassing
Started
a fan.
talking smack to a
Which
guy.
we all want to do. There's always a moment. Drunk heckler in the crowd. You're like, I'm going to show up to your car and ruin your life. Russell Westbrook did that.
He did that.
So anytime those things
And then
happen,
actually you see it play out and you're like, oh, he's crazy. Get back to the locker room, buddy.
Yeah,
You of all people should be listening to the coach's speech.
There's a reason why you've been on 6 teams every season.
That's correct. That's correct. You
'Cause
don't
you
get a
just-
stat. There's no stat for going into someone's luxury suite.
Right.
That's not you can't get a triple double for going into like 9 other
He
suites.
went into 10 suites. No, but I mean so all that stuff is super interesting to us because we're like, there's a lot of people who do sports talk. There are a lot of people, there just aren't a lot of people who try and go at it from the angle of what's the funniest.
Can we apply our comedy lens to sports and take all the 30 years that we have in the world of comedy and try to put that experience there?
Snoop Dogg might be an owner of the Ottawa Senators. Did you see that?
I love it.
He loves hockey. So remember when he called hockey for the first time and he was like so amazed by it and loved it so much and it was just magical. I'm like, God, Snoop, man, yes, please jump on board.
enthusiasm about hockey. I mean,
He's going to bring it to like a whole new group of people who probably aren't watching the Ottawa Senators.
Oh, I guarantee it.
I mean, how great would it be if Ottawa Senators gear became like the gear that everyone was wearing because Snoop made it cool?
Honestly,
Like,
it's the first thing I thought of is the uniforms going to change. If
the
he's part of
Ottawa
it's gonna
Senator
change, he's gonna make
hat
it cool.
just be a blunt. It's just like a huge J.
Smoke 'em, Ottawa. Smoke 'em if you got 'em. Can I tell a great? So Snoop, Jay, and I were at the first roast battle that was recorded. We were doing stuff like post-game interviews of the Comedy Central roast battle with the contestants and the people.
We were doing this for Sirius Radio.
For Comedy Central and Comedy Central Radio on Sirius.
Yep.
We just interviewed what happened, how'd you feel up there, talk to me, walk me through these moments, what did it feel like, did you have one in the shoot, which one didn't you use? It was really fun. Interviews with like all these great comedians, Sarah Tiana, Matt Broussard, like all these
Todd Barry,
like friends of ours, people we love, and Frank Castillo, who won it all. It
Yes.
was just amazing. And we're sitting behind Sarah Silverman and Snoop Dogg, the judges, like at the actual thing at the House of Blues, and feeding them jokes and just talking to them, which is always the best part of judging, is then the comedians behind you are like, say this.
Yeah.
And I watched Snoop smoke down. He smoked like 6 joints,
full joints himself.
full joints, and
And he was still coherent.
yeah,
talking
passed
normal.
one around the whole crowd. This was how pre-COVID it was. Like passed a joint around the whole. Everyone smoked it. Got back to him. After the show, we'll go upstairs in the green room, and he's fired up and we're sitting up there in the green room. It's just a handful of comics, Jeff Ross and him, and he fires up a blunt, which I'm assuming is weed directly from Bob Marley's grave. You know what I mean? Grown
Yes.
out of the decomposing body of Bob Marley, and he fires up and he passes it literally to
Hands
me.
it to Randy.
I'm like,
You can't say
not,
no.
You can't not smoke it if Snoop hands it to me. I take one, goes around again. He hands it back to me again. I take another. I'm like, oh shoot, I got to go to the car that's driving me home. I find my way up from the House of Blues, get up to Sunset Boulevard where my car is, hop in the backseat of the car, and they start driving me home. Okay, so it's at like Sunset and La Cienega, which is really where I'm going to
West
tell
Hollywood.
you.
It's where the Comedy Store
Where
is.
the Comedy Store is, across the street from the Comedy Store. We got to Sunset and La Brea, which is approximately 1.5 miles from there. That's how long we got from there to there. By the time I got to La Brea, I could not remember where I was that night. I couldn't remember what I'd done that night, and I didn't know where we were going.
Oh my God.
2 puffs off this thing, and I was like, oh my God, I watched him smoke when I finally put it together in a mementos type thing. I'm like, where's my wife? Is she okay? Like, it was.
Did I murder my wife? I'm trying to read the tattoos on my
all the
arms.
things on my
Mr. Kimball, answer some questions for us.
It's crazy. And we met Snoop before. Snoop was actually a big Cheap Seats fan. He was.
Really?
We met him backstage at the Jim Rome show. And
we're like, Snoop, because we were on the same show. We did a bit on the show, and he was one of the guests on the show. We're like, Snoop, can we please take a picture with you? And he's like, sure. He takes a picture with us. And then we're about ready to leave. Like, thank you so much, about ready to leave. He's like, no, my
man,
brothers.
no.
And he gets one of his 3 white assistants to come over and take a picture of the 3 of us for him. We're like, what? Why do you want a picture of us? And he's like, man,
Cheap Seats, roller derby,
my
man.
brothers.
Roller
It
derby,
was so
roller
great.
derby. He starts quoting like jokes from our roller derby show and talking about the leg whip, and he was telling stories about how his grandma used to take him down to see the
T-Birds.
The T-Birds at like there was a arena down on
In
Olympic
Long Beach.
or
downtown LA.
Downtown LA near Olympic, and he was like in LA, and he was telling these stories about his connection to that. And I think that was like the first episode he saw. And when he realized there was comedy like woven into this old memory of his, he's like, I was hooked. And
I mean,
greatest.
just amazing.
How many times have you heard if someone started a story to you guys and they've gone, so I smoked a bunch of weed and watched Cheap Seats?
Oh,
Like,
yes, a ton.
A ton, right?
So Cheap Seats. So the beauty of that show was it really felt like you were just hanging out with us on the couch, which is why this was crazy. Second season, one of the executives, not the executive that we really love, but one of the executives at ESPN said we should put a studio audience in the studio and have there be an
So
audience.
they can hear all the laughter. And we were like, I don't.
You're missing the
think
point of
so.
this. There is this thing of what you said is that they felt like they were hanging out with you while we all watched this show together. So we did 6 of those episodes and got a ton of feedback from our fans like, hey, what are you doing?
Why'd you ruin the show?
Why'd you ruin the show? Why are you putting
no.
an audience? And we're like, well, we didn't do this. And we gave the stack of emails to the executive that we loved, and we're like, you gotta, can we please get rid of this, and can we edit out the laughter during all the like things? And he said yes, to his credit. He's a great guy, Crowley Sullivan. I'll name check him. He's unbelievable because he's the executive in charge of the Nosebleeds, which is our cheap seat style show that we're doing for the UFC right
Yes.
now. So he bounced to UFC Fight Pass
He loved the show so much that when he got Fight Pass in a position where they could do some original programming and put some budgets into stuff, he called
us immediately and said, how do we do this for that? And he was just great, but he wound up changing it. But that was the three things people would say is, A, I smoked a lot of weed and watched you guys on Cheap Seats.
2, I hate sports, but I love your show.
And 3, this is the one show I could watch with my parents, my brother, my older brother, my dad,
sister who loves sports, and I don't like sports. Like my mom, she's the biggest sports fan. I hate sports, or she hates sports. I love sports, but we both love comedy.
Yeah.
So this was the thing we could watch together, and it like bridged these relationships.
A lot of times people said that to us. So
which, by the way, goes back to what we were saying before, is we understood that. We were like, let's make a show that sports fans can love, and it'll pass the muster test for all real sports fans. Then let's also make that show accessible to non-sports fans.
So that's
the same
first.
thing. It's the same thing with our parenting material. We're like, how can we make this parenting material really relate to people who are parents and also be funny for people who aren't or aren't even close?
So expand on the nosebleeds thing that you're doing now.
So the nosebleeds, we did 6 episodes. It's
first episode's up for free. You can go.
Yeah, YouTube.
Yeah, go to YouTube. Yeah. If you go to our Instagram and follow us at Sklar Brothers, in the bio, there's a link to the first episode, and it's free. It was from UFC 1, the first one they ever did, the big one in Denver, Colorado, in 1993.
Jim Brown.
Brown.
Running back Jim Brown from the Cleveland Browns was an announcer. We're like, Jim Brown, you've never done MMA and you're retired from football. What's your opinion? I mean, Jim Brown. We're like, Jim Brown. Was O.J. Simpson booked?
We're like, it was the mid '90s, so O.J. Simpson was actually in the process of being booked, and we showed his mugshot. But it was like, it's funny stuff like that,
Yeah.
and we had Rob Corddry did a sketch in the first episode. Andy Richter did a running bit in a later episode.
John Hamm
did he played a crazy lawyer, like a personal injury lawyer to UFC fighters. Have you been injured on the job? It's like, of course, everybody has. He's trying to get money out of them.
Call me Larry M. Brownshuttle. And every time he would say his name, he had a different middle initial.
Larry Q. Brownshuttle. So that was really fun. And we really got to make the show we wanted to make. And for all of our Cheap Seats fans who said we want to see it come
It's
back.
the most Cheap Seats. It was like the Cheap Seats show with no restrictions on it. So
Love it.
We went all the way with it, and we love it.
Love it. So where's so to watch all of them,
So
need
you
to
would
do
have
what?
to join or just subscribe to UFC Fight Pass, which is like which again, if you're a UFC fan, it's a wonderful thing because they have like basically the library of every Ultimate Fighter episode, everything that they've ever done, documentaries, all that other stuff. And
But it's a cheap. If you love Cheap Seats, it's worth.
We're subscribing for a month, and then you can watch.
Decide if you want to keep it or not. But
watch all the episodes.
There's 5 of them, and there's so much.
6 of them total.
6 total, but 5 on Fight Pass that aren't on the YouTube page.
Love it. So I did. Have you guys messed around with GPT?
ChatGPT, not yet.
No, but my youngest daughter said, I want to write a college essay that is, what if ChatGPT wrote my college essay? And then have the essay, like show what the essay would be from them and then how she would make it different. This is like my 15-year-old. I was like, that's a great idea. Yeah. That's a great idea. We haven't messed around with it too much, but I've seen a lot of it.
Can I? So I asked it one question this morning.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How would the Sklar brothers describe Minnesota sports? Can I hand you guys my phone and you guys want to read this?
Yeah.
So it's open.
Or should we answer first and then see how close we get?
Oh, sure.
What do you want to do, Red? How would you say about Minnesota sports?
The sports
That
team,
might close down. So
the sports teams are too nice.
Everybody, it's Kirby Puckett and then nothing else.
Right. It's exactly. Kent Herbeck should be announcing.
Ken Herbeck should have Ken Herbeck's House of Pies.
I agree. Okay. All right, here's what it says. You ready? The Sklar brothers, Randy and Jason, are known for their comedic style and witty commentary on various topics, including sports.
Thanks.
While I cannot provide an exact quote from them about Minnesota sports specifically, I can offer a humorous description in a similar vein to their style. Minnesota sports, oh boy, it's like watching a roller coaster ride that only goes downhill. You've got the Minnesota Vikings, the master of the last-minute heartbreak. They'll snatch defeat from the jaws of victory like it's their job. And
By the way,
then
nothing funny has been said as of yet. Not a single. It's just straight observations.
Yes.
And
completely.
then there's the Minnesota Timberwolves, who seem to be perpetually rebuilding. They're like a never-ending construction project that never finishes. So a never-ending construction project.
I would have said they're like a face of a Real Housewife from Orange County.
There you go.
Constantly rebuilding.
Constantly. Too much work.
That's
being
funnier
done.
than what you did, ChatGPT.
And let's not forget the Minnesota Twins, who tease you with a glimmer of hope every now and then before collapsing faster than a house of cards in a hurricane. I would say before collapsing faster than a face of a Real Housewife of Orange County. Yeah. But hey, at least you've got the Minnesota Wild, who are always there to give you a sliver of playoff excitement before getting knocked out in the first round. It's like they're saying, hey, we know you're used to disappointment, so here's a taste of the good stuff before crushing your dreams. Minnesota sports, where hope goes to die, but the fans keep coming back for more.
So
Keep your job safe.
Right. I think we're okay. I'm slightly...
it's like creepy. It's like if someone breaks into your car but doesn't steal something.
Right.
That's what that
It's
feels
like,
like. You're like,
what-
they rummage through
did
shit.
they sit
I
naked
feel
on the
violated.
seats?
I feel. Did they put their balls on my stick shift?
I
I feel
sense it.
violated. Right.
There's something here. Like the ChatGPT just put their balls on our stick shift.
But it is such an approximation. It shows you that ChatGPT can't write comedy.
So
It cannot.
I agree.
And
Agreed.
it's so funny because writing comedy is. I remember listening to Gary Shandling talk about this in the documentary about him. Is that like it took him a whole year to get
To finish one joke.
So we have this joke we were talking about in this bit that we're doing, and it's so true that like you got to build it. You got to make the mistake several times. So we had this joke about like your kids. Like your kid's asking you to do something that you don't want to do as an older dad. If you're like, we're 51 and he's got a 9-year-old. So it's like your 9-year-old or a kid asking you to do something you don't want to do. They're like, come on, Dad, roll down this hill with me, because kids just love rolling down hills. And
You're like, I'm not going to roll down our original line was,
what we've
I'm
done
not
for a
gonna-
while,
I'm not going to roll down a hill with you. I'm 50 years old.
which
All right?
would get laughs.
Some laughs,
most
sometimes.
times. So it just occurred to me after doing it so many times, probably several
70, 100,
times,
200 times.
to say just one little adjustment. So he now says,
I'm not going to roll down a hill with you. Or wait, I'm not going to roll down a hill on purpose.
so it's like,
So that suggests that, yes, I will roll down a hill with you if someone pushes me.
exactly, or if I slip and fall.
I trip, yeah.
I'm not
Trip.
gonna
Roll
then
down a hill.
initiate that action.
Why would I do that on purpose?
purpose.
And then I still say I'm 50 years old. And then it gets a laugh every time. And that little adjustment we needed to make. So ChatGPT maybe would write, I'm not going to roll down a hill with you. I'm 50.
Yeah.
Which is the initial thing. But comedy is so much about, if you want to be good, evolving. That's why, like, when you see someone who's new to comedy, I'm not going to name check anyone, but you see someone who's like, I'm going to try comedy, if they're famous or if they think they can do it, or if they're a Real Housewife from Atlanta, Nene Leakes is going to go do a stand-up show or whatever. They will only get to the 40% place, which is the first iteration of every joke. And we know as comics that you rewrite the joke over and over again by doing it over and over again and getting your market research comes back at you every time you do it. And there's no way to shortcut that.
We did a show to benefit Jay's
School,
his daughter's elementary
public
public school in Los Angeles, and it was a benefit show. And I mean, it was we hosted it. Pete Holmes, Aparna
Oh, I saw
Nancherla,
the photo, yeah.
Aparna, and Dimitri Martin with music by Amy Mann. Incredible show, unbelievable.
And Donnell Rawlings.
Wow.
And to watch each of them do what they do, totally different. Pete is different from Aparna, who's totally different from Darnell, who's totally different from Dimitri, all different. But you saw the brilliance of like each of them, and you're like, oh, because we know how hard Pete works on it. We know how hard Aparna works on what she does. I mean, Dimitri is the ultimate craftsman of the types of jokes that he does. We even saw him tell a story, which is he occasionally does that in his things. It wasn't just one-liners. It was a great story.
Unbelievable story.
About like getting like birthday balloons for his
A giant
daughter.
birthday balloon
A giant
for his
birthday
kid.
balloon, and then it being in the house and hanging around too long. And he acted out. I mean, again, these are things we never saw him really do.
So, like, would ChatGPT ever do that story? No, because that's a departure from his style. You can't just get that from the search. So him
Interesting.
venturing into that and putting his Dimitri twist on those things is only something he can do.
Yeah.
And that's a risk.
So I would argue
You take
that.
unexpected risks in your act once you establish a style.
Did you ever see the documentary, the Dogtown and Z Boys, which was about the skateboarding in Venice.
Oh, years ago.
It's great. So there's one moment in that documentary where Sean Penn, who's the narrator of it, he clears his throat in the middle of reading a thing. He's like, so then the Venice, and he just went forward. Now, any normal, you're editing this stuff. He's not reading it live. You just chop that up, have him do it again, do another take, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm sure
we talked to Stacey Peralta, who's one of the original Z
who
Boys,
did the movie,
Dogtown Z-Boys.
and he was like, we had to leave it in because skateboarding, especially with these guys and girls, it was all about making the mistake and turning the thing where you almost fall into something that's actually beautiful and turning into something else. Like, you had to do that. So again, I don't think ChatGPT would ever come up with that unless they were like calculatingly
unless someone programmed into it,
make a mistake at 1303.
Sure.
but then their mistake wouldn't be it wouldn't feel natural. It's like almost like, and this is how I can describe it. Have you ever heard a sportscaster on a commercial call a fake home run that's not happening? So they'll be like, you know, swing and there's a long one and it's out of the park, just like Menards. They hit it out of the park every Friday with firewood. And you're like, I know you're using the voice that I recognize, but in your voice is not the urgency of the reality of a moment.
Yeah.
You can't convey surprise because every time someone hits a home run, there's surprise.
Yeah.
Every time, because you don't expect it every single time. So as soon as someone hits it, the implications of the home run, what it means to your team, what it means to the moment, what it means to that player, what it means to you as a fan or a local sportscaster, there's no way you can convey that falsely. You can't manufacture that excitement. It's just not possible.
You're absolutely right.
So
I want to. What if we find out that ChatGPT engineers announced that it has a twin brother?
I mean, Chad GPT. You know Chat and Chad, the GPT brothers. They're
GPT
amazing.
bros.
They bounce off each other so well. I mean, that would be great. We become the Chad and Chad GPT. They look alike. They dress alike. They sound alike.
This is Chet, not related.
Chat, yeah,
Oh,
Chat.
nice. This is Chad.
Chad,
Chet's their younger.
Chat, and Chet is the younger brother. They're like, you're one of the Chat. You're one of the Chat.
Nice
and
to
Chat.
meet you, Chad. No, it's
Nice
Chet. Nice to meet you, Chad.
I came along later.
Yeah.
I sorry.
But you look like you look more like Chad than Chat looks like Chad. Wait, I'm sorry. Are you talking to Chet? Like, that would be the best bit ever.
He could right now in his phone put in. Let's do this right now.
Yeah, I'll
You
let
put
you
in
do
your
that.
phone and say, ChatGPT, come up with a Sklar Brothers comedy bit about Chad and his brother ChatGPT, his brother
And
ChatGPT,
ChatGPT.
and their younger sibling ChatGPT.
It would be really fun.
It'll come up in 30 seconds. I mean, it'll be there.
It comes up so
and it
fast.
will be, and we'll all understand how bad it is.
Yeah, like what we came up with right here was more fun because it's a real live moment. I think, and as you're doing that, one of the things that I think was so missing in the pandemic, what was so great, and standing on stage here last night,
You feel it.
with the crowd that was here last night, they were so good. The collective laughter in that moment of everybody kind of being together and laughing in a room together it's beautiful and magical. And like Jay said, almost like calling a home run. It can't be replicated. Like, those moments are very real because we do the material over and over again, but how the audience reacts to it. There could be one woman laughing so hard
and she's egging you on, and the laughter, I believe, this is where the audience comes in, is the laughter forces it fires some synapses in your brain as a comedian.
And I'll ask
on
you
stage.
this: when you get big laughs, I can't wait to hear this. When you get when you get big laughs on stage, don't you find yourself writing in the laughter, where like you maybe come up with some sort of an add-on or a tag or something as they're laughing?
Because it almost, the laughter when it's going so well, it encourages you to take a risk and do one more. Let me see if I can get one more thing out here. Let me see if I can put one more. For us, we end up tending to do the most writing when the crowds are great.
Sure.
And laughing hard and encouraging you, and your brain is firing, and it's just a very exciting moment. And that can't be created on a ChatGPT. But let's see what they came up with.
So the question I gave it was, come up with Sklar Brothers joke about Chet GPT and his brother Chad.
Okay, great.
That's what I put.
Okay, great.
Hey, Randy. Have you heard about this new dynamic duo in the AI world? ChatGPT and his brother Chad? They're like Silicon Valley's answer to the Wonder Twins, except instead of transforming into water or animals, they transform into perfectly crafted paragraphs.
Rip. That is a rip.
Watch out.
Chet is a brainiac, always dropping knowledge bombs left and right. You ask him a question, he'll give you a dissertation. And then there's Chad, the cool and charismatic one.
What is funny about it? Nothing
is
is funny.
funny.
Honestly, if you were to show my face as I was watching both of the Twin Towers come down in 9/11 and also this thing, it'd be the same expression on my face. Listening to their bit about what we're doing and me watching the news information about 9/11 to be the same
because
thing.
it's the death of something here.
They're like Siri and Alexa on steroids. Oh my God.
We were on the radio this morning. We were talking about we did the phenomenal initials game at K-Fan.
Oh, K-Fan, that's
so much fun.
That's great. Yep.
All those guys are amazing.
Yeah, they
and Marnie was talking about going to the Tanya Tucker concert last night, the Tanya Tucker concert.
Tanya
Tucker.
And she said there was a moment at the end where she's doing Delta Dawn and she like went off the stage in the front, like we're like on purpose? Like no. She went off the stage in front and then she started talking to the crowd like while the band is playing.
How you doing?
And she took every
took selfies, signed stuff. It was like her merch line was still in the crowd as she's walking around.
She then went back on stage and then went to another side of the crowd. I'm like, she could have just gone to the other side of the crowd there, but she went back up.
Ray and I were like, how funny would it be if she followed one family home and just started living with them, and she
became the person they asked all the
so
questions.
she becomes like their new Alexa in
Hey,
the house.
Tanya, Tanya, how many quarts are in a pound? You know, and she's answering, and then she's like, but like she's a little drunk and she's a little too loud. And you're like, Tanya, volume 3, please.
I think it's 4.
Tanya, volume 2.
I think it's 2.
Tanya, do you have any Amazon packages, Tanya?
Check the back door. Tanya Tucker is your new Alexa. I mean, that's a thing that it's clear. I mean, it is so funny how
Not funny it is.
not funny that is, and how much of an approximation of what comedy is. Like they understand sort of the rhythm and the cadence, but none of the material is good.
Yeah.
Not even close. So it goes to show you that there are certain things that cannot be generated without having tested them and tried them.
So you are absolutely right. One final thing. We should wrap this up. I know we're going long here. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So fun.
The story you told last night on stage about your bag in the airplane.
my God.
Do you mind sharing
Yeah,
that?
not at all. That was such a great moment, and I'll let Jay rip on me sufficiently for my part in this story.
I can't believe how mad I was at Randy for something that
it was a
happened
little
to him.
imbalanced.
Okay.
I mean, Chet wouldn't do this to Chad. I can tell. Even though Chad is the cool one,
Who always has an answer.
irreverent.
God, another dissertation.
Yeah, geez, here we go. Another perfect paragraph from these two. That's comedy. So Randy
I'll show you a perfect paragraph.
Randy trying to save money. Like we're always trying to, because look, we're a comedy team.
We're Jews,
People
let's
always
be
ask, we're
honest.
Jews also. People always ask us, what's the best part about being a comedy team? And we always tell them it's that we get to split the money.
No, that's terrible.
No, they ask us, do you want paid both? And we're like, no, let's split it.
Split it down the
Make
middle.
it like really, really hard for me to tell the truth to my family about how much I'm making. So that's the deal. We always are like, how can we get there in the least expensive? That's why we don't have an airline that we like, good smart comics will be like, I'm going to pick one airline. That's the airline I'm going to fly around the world.
And then you're like such a gold class member because that's the only airline you take that like they let you fly the plane a little bit.
yeah,
They're
they
like,
do a little bit when the pilot gets drunk. Certainly on
Like, Mark
Southwest.
Maron, you want to come up here and fly the plane? And he's just at the controls and he's like, fuck!
Where's the stewardess? Sorry,
God.
flight attendant.
Where's
Are we
the
good?
stewardess?
So fucking stressed. Anyway,
Are we good?
Are we good?
No. So
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like. Are we okay?
Fuck. What the fuck?
Air traffic control. Are we good?
Are we good? Down to the tower. No, you're not.
you're
good.
not. You
You're
gotta bring
landing
the
in a
nose of the
field.
plane
And,
up.
I don't know.
We, you and me, are we good?
So Randy tries to save money by only packing a carry-on bag, also packing, this is a great hack, by the way, for Delta Airlines, which is a Minneapolis thing, bag too many carry-ons.
I packed a hanging bag and a backpack
And
brought it all through security. And
No. When you check in, they ask you if you want to be nice to other passengers and lighten the load.
I'm
Do
like,
you
I'll
want
be
to
nice.
check a
So
carry-on?
I checked my hanging bag through
For free, you can check a carry-on. So we
whatever.
packed
So
3
I was
carry-ons.
like, I'm beating this. And on some level, I'm like, I'm beating the system. This will never come back to bite me.
so then the plane lands, and
I'm way in the back, like row 30. There's like 8 rows to the bathroom. I have to pee. It's going to take forever. I go to the bathroom while the plane is
I'm like, who can't hold? What are you, 5? You can't hold a bathroom
no,
pee?
I'm 51 and I can't hold a bathroom pee. So I go to the back and I come out and there's like people standing up. Like I'm 3 seats from my seat and people are standing up and I'm like, excuse me, can I get to my seat right there? And the guy's like not letting me through. And I'm like, I've seen enough fights on planes that I don't want to start anything with this guy. Who knows? Like maybe he is a Minnesota Wild fan. I don't know. A lot of frustration. So, because I don't know if you know this about the Minnesota Wild.
They give you a sliver of hope.
First round.
They give you a little more of the medicine that you always love to take.
It's
'cause
like
you're
a roller coaster ride going
It only
downhill.
goes down.
Which, by the way, would be amazing. A roller
Coaster
coaster
ride that only goes down.
I mean,
That's
incredible.
the best part of roller coaster. So ChatGPT, you got it wrong. You
got it.
fucked up. The best part of a roller coaster ride is the going down. Can you imagine a roller coaster ride where you start really high up and you just go down for like a week?
To me, I would say it's the only roller coaster ride that only goes up, and it never goes down. It never gives you the joy of going down. You idiots. Anyway, Ched. I call him Chap. Ched.
Chappy GPT.
It's not my name.
Yeah.
Whatever, Chap.
Shep.
So Shep. So
He was a replacement
So
chef.
Shep is Shep.
Chef, that's it.
Shep.
Everyone hated Shep GPT. That's the fourth. That's the fourth GPT.
What's Shep bringing to the table?
Shep GPT.
He's not even. He can't even dance.
We've
Anyway.
already seen this.
So, I'm like waiting for. I now have to wait for not only these 3 idiots who are standing in front of me to leave, but everybody else in every row to like go. I do, and I have my backpack on my seat. I pick it up quickly because when I finally get to my thing, and I grab my bag from the rolling bag, which has all my stuff in a carry-on that I beat the system with, and I'm like rolling out, put my backpack on, and just head out. And Jay's like, "Where were you?" I was like, "I went to the bathroom, and this happened." Get down to we're just like, we got to go because we're late because our plane was delayed. I'm like, I just want to get to the show because it's like 6:30 and we're still at the airport. Show's at 8. We're
wow.
we got to get going. So that's on our mind. Yeah. Grab my hanging bag. We take a lift, figure out where the Uber is, take a lift, get to the hotel. And we literally get to the hotel at 7:50. Our show's at 8. Roll up in here, but I go into my room and open up the case of my thing to
The
change
rolling
it
bag,
close.
it's not your stuff.
No, it's a bunch of merch, but not our merch. Just a bunch of merch. And I'm looking at this and it says like #meow2
With a cat.
the cat in a microphone.
Cat GPT.
Cat GPT. It's the other one.
Dude, how great would Cat GPT be if it was cats writing
Cat
comedy?
GPT, it like never gives you the answer when you want it to. It's gone for like 8
You're like,
years.
I just wrote a question to Cat GPT and it's not
like-
responding.
I don't even know where it is. Is it still in the house? Cat GPT
is under the kitchen sink because someone jostled a cabinet too loudly.
Cat
Won't
GPT.
answer to its name.
Won't answer to anything. It might scratch you in the face. So I open it up and I'm like, oh my God, what is this? Where's my bag? I have no idea where my bag is. It's got like medicine and other stuff. Again, it was all my stuff that I packed. So stupid. Someone took my bag. But this one, by the way, the exact same suitcase as mine, except it had a couple stickers on the outside. I should have seen it. He shouldn't have taken mine, whoever took it. So I go through it. I'm like, there's merch here. There has to, and I see some other stuff. There's like some CDs and stuff. I'm like, okay, this has to be somebody, a musician or something like that. But Meow 2, that's probably, it's a comic. I don't know. So I look up and I find like a Venmo card and I look him up and it says he's like an Italian comic. Sal Kalani is the guy's name. He's in.
Which, by the way, I got a Sal colonic and it made I was able to shit so much better.
So they basically fire sausages all the way through.
Yeah. A little provolone.
Italian
a little
sausage.
prosciutto.
Prosciutto.
little Italian sausage
put a
right through your
prosciutto
colon.
through the chute.
You fire it through your colon and cleans it out.
a little prosciutto through the chute,
and
that's how I shoot better.
As Sal Kalani. And so I reach out to him on Venmo, something you couldn't do like 3 years ago. I reach out to him on Venmo, and then I'm like, let me try and find him on Instagram. And I reach out to him on Instagram. And I'm like, and I look at his link tree. Now we have to follow the guy.
I looked at
So he's opening for us now. So I look at his link tree to be like, where is this guy? Is he performing somewhere in St. Paul? Is because if he's in here, he's got my bag and we can make the exchange, whatever. So he is like, I see that he's going to be at the Skyline Comedy Club in Appleton, Wisconsin, which is not that far from here, with Tim Meadows this weekend. But his shows start tonight, Friday night and Saturday night. So I reach out to him on Instagram. I'm like, yo, I think you took my bag. I hope you took my bag. I have your bag. I have your merch and all this stuff. And he's like, here's my phone number. Call me, please. He texts me and says, like, I did have your bag. I left it at the gate. And I call him. He's on the plane to go to Appleton. And I'm like, oh my God, dude, thank you. I'm glad you have that. I will figure out a way to get this to you. I got to get back to the airport and get my bag, which they never, I'm like, this is going to be a nightmare. This is what I'm thinking about as I'm about to go. It's amazing, by the way, that he figured out that he has your bag, that he didn't just mindlessly take that bag onto the next flight.
That's good.
I don't even know how he did that.
because he had stickers on the front, and I think he saw that wasn't there, and he's like, how am I going to do this? So he was really happy that I reached out to him. And so after the show, I went back to the airport, and there's 3 people who are so upset. They're the most that they have to work there in the baggage office at Delta. All the lights are off.
All they do is just deal with problems.
Wait, you went there last night?
Yeah, after the show.
Holy
Post-show,
crap, man.
Because I wanted to give them the thing so that they could get it on the first flight out for this guy. I'm trying to be nice to this guy. I should have gotten at least one #meow2 shirts.
You
right?
should take
And I
it.
should
We
wear
sold
them.
11
And a
of them.
follower from,
Right.
from
We
him.
sold 11 of them.
I sold 11 of his #meow2 shirts.
at the show last night. And we took all the money.
I actually forced them on people.
which is weird for a meow
I was
too.
like,
we wouldn't take no
They would
for
take
an
no
answer.
for an answer. #meow2. So is that his? I don't know what his joke.
I want to know what that
I want to
bit
know
is.
what the bit is.
Put it in ChatGPT.
#meow2.
Write a comedy bit where the punchline is #meow2. ChatGPT.
Write a comedy bit where the hashtag is meow2.
Where the punchline is #meow2.
Oh, yep, punchline.
Yeah.
Right
Get out of there. Get out of there, ChatGPT. So get out of there.
ChatGPT is like a dog waiting to be fed, and you're putting the food down, and you're like,
Get out of there. Get out of there, ChatGPT.
I gotta put the stool softener in it. What are you doing?
Get out of there, ChatGPT. Anyway, so I go down and I talk to these people, and they are so not happy. Except I walk in and I'm like, you guys, I have the greatest story ever for you. I'm like, I've got it. You've never heard this story before.
Like, we heard a lot of stories.
I was like, And I told him, the fact that another comic who is performing somewhere, I was like, I just did a show in, let's hear it.
It's still going.
Oh my God, it's writing this beautiful thing. Anyway, so I was like, I said another comic took my bag and I have his stuff. And the fact that it's 2 comedians, he's performing here. I just did a show here. I did a couple of jokes for them. I was like, you guys, for real. And the African man was not impressed at all. And we tried to look around for it. And finally we realized that it's upstairs at the gate and he had to walk all the way up there. And as he's walking away, I'm like, do you want me to play some theme music as you're walking away? What do you want? You want the Imperial March from Star Wars?
Empire Strikes Back?
He's like, no, you're just slowing me down. I was like,
Wait, why he was African and speaking with a Russian accent?
You're just slowing me down. And he's like,
That is still a Russian accent.
fine. You're just, I can't do an African accent. You're just slowing me down. And I was like, you know me, play 2 Chainz? What can I do for you? Anything to get you, hype you up, to get you upstairs? He's
Money in the way, money in the way.
He's like, nope. And then he comes down and he brings my bag back, and is my bag. And it's at night. And I was able to get his bag off. It was I can't believe we completed it. I just can't believe it worked. The problem happened, and then we solved the problem later that night. And I was so grateful. I was like, dude, thank you so much. I was like, listen, man, do you want to come to a comedy show this weekend? Be my guest to come to a comedy show. And he waited for so long, and he's like, I got to work. I was like, all right, that is.
What is this bit? Did they write anything?
It goes on for frickin' ever. Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever noticed how cats seem to have their own language? They go around the house rubbing against your legs, and when you least expect it, they let out a little meow.
What?
And you're there left standing wondering, what did you just say to me, Fluffy? I mean, imagine if humans communicated like that. You walk into a room and your friends come up to you, gently brushes your leg and goes meow, and you're like, oh, excuse me, Dave? Did you just meow to me?
Dave.
And your friend, without missing a beat, responds, oh yeah, totally. Meow means, hey, great shirt you got there.
What?
Confused, you try to keep the conversation going, so you go, well, thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. You look good too. By the way, meow. And Dave, being the witty guy he is, fires back, okay, thanks, meow back at you. By the way, your hair is on point today. Totally meow-licious.
Oh
it just
my
goes
God.
on and on about
Oh
all
my
that.
God.
So here's what I would say to ChatGPT if it was
ChatPTG.
ChatPTG.
I've
if
got
it
chat
was
PTSD.
PTSD. Here's what I would say to it if it was a new comic that just did that bit. I'd be like, look, man, comedy's hard.
It's really hard.
Comedy is really hard. It's
You're
not
gonna
for
make
everyone.
a lot of mistakes for a lot of years.
I think
keep at this for 10 years.
Do this for 10 years, and I'm telling you, the industry will let you know if you should keep doing it. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going
Get
to.
some backup plans.
Do
Ched.
something else.
Chad.
Maybe get into advertising.
Ched.
Chump.
This has been fantastic.
Unbelievable.
Thank
Come
you
on.
so much. If there's tickets left this weekend,
Let's sell it out now.
pick them up while you can. See the Sklar brothers while they're at Acme in Minneapolis. I went to the show last night and it was fucking fantastic. Nate Abshire is featuring, and he does this bit right now where he does a Russian voice doing freaking like Foxworthy like jokes. Holy! I almost fell out of my seat
I was
laughing.
losing it.
It was-
and
Where did that
we
come
pitched
from?
him. We pitched him punchlines for it
pitched
too.
him.
Holy
It's
shit! Is that
so
funny?
funny. It's
so
so fun.
funny.
Yeah,
Come
he's a great
see the
guy.
shows with two Nates and you guys.
Thank
you
you
go.
so much, man.